approach with a courtesy copy?
Sure.
Thank you.
Before you have a seat, if you please raise your right hand, Madam Clerk.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give in this case now before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do swear.
Thank you. You can be seated. And if you can state and spell your first and last name for the record.
TAYLORENGSTROM. My apologies. Hold on.
And Mr. Engstrom, how long have you lived in Alaska?
Since I was 6 years old.
And what city and towns have you lived in?
I initially, when I moved up here, I was in Wasilla with my mom. Then we moved to Anchorage shortly after so she could work.
And when did you end up moving to Anchorage?
I honestly don't recall. I was too young.
And have you lived in Anchorage ever since?
Yes.
At one point, did you live at the Alpine Apartments?
Yes, I did.
What time period was that?
It was about a couple years back now. So 2022 to 2023 approximately.
Were you living there in August of 2023?
Yes.
And do you recognize the defendant, Zary Brand?
Where is the defendant sitting?
Let me back up. Do you know who Zary Brand is?
Yes.
And before I get there, did you have to call 911 in August of 2023?
I did.
Right away. Notice what the prosecutor is doing here. The witness doesn't remember the exact date, which is completely normal when recalling an event years later. Instead of forcing a guess, the prosecutor uses official records to refresh the witness's memory. That's a standard courtroom technique designed to improve accuracy, not to feed answers. Have you ever remembered something only after seeing a text message or calendar entry? Same basic principle.
Do you recall the date of that?
I do not.
Your Honor, if I may approach with something to refresh the witness's recollection. Apologies, and I should have approached with this. Thank you. And Mr. Engstrom, I approached and handed you a copy of a CAD involved in this case. Are you able to refresh your recollection and see if you can remember a date based on that?
Yes. According to this CAD, it was on August 8th of 2023.
Okay, can you go ahead and flip that over for me?
Yes, like so.
And I apologize, did you say August 8th or August 6th?
Sorry, my apologies. I meant to say August 6th. I was thinking of the month.
Ultimately, you had to call 911 many times in August of 2023?
Not really.
Was it just this once?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall what time of day that was?
It was around 2:45 a.m.
And what were you doing that night?
I was watching Lucifer.
And what was your address?
It was 5210 Mockingbird Drive, apartment 121.
And what kind of building was that?
A U-shaped apartment building with a little courtyard in the middle of it.
This is the first major moment in the testimony. The witness isn't claiming he saw a shooting. He's establishing something prosecutors often value just as much, an immediate reaction to a startling event. A 911 call made within minutes can become a critical piece of a timeline. And think about it. It's 2:45 in the morning. You're alone watching TV, and suddenly a gunshot seems to explode from your courtyard. What would your first instinct be?
And Why did you call 911 that night?
Well, I had heard a shot that was pretty loud, sounded like it was in the middle of the courtyard, and I was very concerned, so I felt calling 911 was my best approach.
And when you say in the middle of the courtyard, Your Honor, if I could approach the witness with with State's Exhibit 17.
Yes.
Mr. Engstrom, do you recognize that aerial photo?
Yes, I do.
And what is that photo of?
That's a photo of 5210 Mockingbird Drive.
And generally, so we can have an idea, where is that in Anchorage?
Approximately off of Brayton Drive, right off of Tudor, or right near Tudor. So I would say between Midtown and Southside.
Is it between Tudor and Dowling?
Yes.
And is that photo in front of you true and accurate to what you know 5210 Mockingbird Drive to look like?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, at this time the state would ask to admit Exhibit 17.
17's admitted.
Permission to publish.
We have published.
And Mr. Engstrom, looking at this photo, if I were to approach you with a Sharpie, would you be able to mark on Exhibit 17 where your unit was?
Yes, I can.
Your Honor, permission to approach.
Yes.
Would you like me to mark it now?
Yes, please. Thank you. And could you also stand up and point for the grand jurors on the digital exhibit where your apartment was?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So in the U-shaped building, what area would you consider the courtyard?
I would consider the courtyard that middle section between the elongated side and the short side.
And on the other side of the courtyard, are there other apartment units?
Yes, there is.
To your knowledge, did you know before you called 911 Zary Hildebrand?
No, I did not.
Did you know Soraya Hildebrand?
No, I did not.
After you called 911, do you recognize the man sitting at this table?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize him?
From an interaction after speaking with the detectives.
Can you tell me about that? What day was that?
That was, let's see, I called Sunday, so it was Tuesday, which would be the 8th.
Okay. And where was that interaction?
It was right here. May I stand up to?
You may.
Right here, right approximately in this area, after I came around the building.
So you said right there and you were pointing to the middle of the U space. I'm just
Yes.
repeating for the record.
Just right about here, yes.
And about the middle of the long side of the U?
Correct.
What were you doing outside that day?
I had gotten a call from the detectives to come down and speak with them, so I proceeded to go speak with them. Once I was done, I came around the building to go back inside.
Now, things get a lot more interesting. The witness describes a conversation with the defendant days after the gunshot, and what stands out isn't necessarily the words, it's the reaction he observed. Jurors often pay close attention to testimony about behavior, body language, and demeanor. Of course, people can interpret those things differently, but moments like this can leave a strong impression. Was this an innocent conversation, or was the witness picking up on something that genuinely worried him?
And I had run into Zarius.
And did you know his name at the time?
No, I did not.
But you ran into this man sitting at counsel table?
Yes, I did.
For the record, Your Honor, the state would request that it reflect that he identified Zary Hildebrand.
So it so reflects.
Thank you, Your Honor. What was that interaction like?
Well, Zarius had approached me and asked me about why I was talking with the detectives. All I had stated at the time was I had called a shot in, and his body language got really tense and alert after I had said.
And here comes the defense strategy. Notice that the defense doesn't need to prove what happened. Their goal is often to test the reliability of the witness's observations. Expect questions about darkness, distance, visibility, memory, and what the witness actually saw versus what he assumed. In many cases, cross-examination is where confidence meets scrutiny.
I called a shot in. Then he proceeded to ask me, did they do any research on that or digging on that? And I told him I don't know, and escaped the interaction as I was not comfortable.
And by escape, did you walk away from
Walk away, yeah, my apologies.
No.
I should have used better wording.
And did you have any contact with him after that?
Negatory.
And the only thing you did on August 6th was call in the shot that you heard from the courtyard area by your apartment.
That is correct.
Those are all my questions at this time. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. No,
Did you want me to flip this exhibit over, Your Honor?
that's fine. You can leave that there.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Lacey Jane Brewster. I am Mr. Hildebrand's attorney. So I just have some follow-up questions with you. So you said on August 6th, 2023, around 2:45 in the morning, you were in your apartment, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do you recall it was dark outside?
Yes.
Okay. And you were watching Lucifer?
Correct.
And just so the jury knows, what's Lucifer about?
It's a show about...
This exchange may sound routine, but it's actually important. The defense is building the possibility that sounds could travel unpredictably through the apartment complex. If the courtyard acts like an echo chamber, then identifying the exact source of a loud noise becomes more difficult. It's a subtle point, but trials are often won and lost on subtle points. Do you think you could accurately pinpoint a single gunshot in the middle of the night from inside your apartment?
The devil's life, per se, I suppose.
Okay. Are you usually up that late?
Not typically, but not anymore nowadays. Back then, I'd like to binge watch shows, so.
Okay. So back in August of 2023, were you a late nighter type person?
I would say most nights.
Okay. And you say you heard a gunshot around 2:45 in the morning on August 6th, 2023?
I called in the shot at 2:45. I had heard the shot a little bit before I called that in, so I could say, if we're going to put a time frame on it, between 2:40 and 2:45.
Okay. And do you recall, do you still live in that apartment complex?
Negatory.
Oh. And how long did you live there?
I lived there approximately a year. Yeah, about a year, maybe a year and a half.
And if we look at exhibit number, the state's exhibit 17, this is kind of a weird C shape. Is that fair to say, the apartment complex?
U or C, however you want to describe it, yes.
And do you recall if your windows were open on August 6th?
Negatory.
Okay.
By that, I mean they weren't open.
They were not open, thank you. And do you recall, you lived there for a year, is this courtyard kind of like an echo chamber? Do you hear sounds?
I would say yes, it can be.
Okay. For example, have you ever maybe heard at any point when you lived there, did you ever hear someone in another apartment
From across the way?
from across the
No.
way yelling at another person or anything like that?
Nope, not in the only time I'd hear that if
The prosecution ends on a memorable note. The witness admits he never saw who fired a weapon, but he remains unwavering about one thing: how close and unusually loud the sound seemed. That's an important distinction. Eyewitness testimony and ear witness testimony aren't the same thing, and both sides are trying to shape how much weight the jury gives this account. As this witness steps down, the big question remains: does this testimony strengthen the prosecution's timeline, or does it simply confirm that a loud gunshot was heard somewhere nearby?
Someone below me or above me or next to me on the side to side, as you can see on the short side.
Okay. And then fair to say, on August 6, 2023, you didn't hear any arguing before you heard the gunshot, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't know on August 6, 2023, what apartment or where the gunshot came from?
No, I did not. That's
Correct.
why I told the 911 operator it sounded like it came from my courtyard.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
And then, you identified Mr. Hildebrand.
Yes.
You haven't met him before August 6th, 2023.
Negatory.
Okay. Have you ever been in their apartment?
No, I have not.
Okay, so fair to say you were not in their bedroom at 2:45 a.m. on August 6th, 2023.
No.
And you were not in their apartment.
No, I was not. I was in mine, in 121.
And you were in the complex, but not necessarily the same side of the building.
Correct. I lived on the short side of the building.
And you didn't see who pulled the trigger of the gunshot that you heard, correct?
No. That is why I'll say again, I told the 911 operator it sounded like it was in the courtyard. I did not peek my head over the window because it sounded like it was in the courtyard, and I was not going to stick my head over to find out.
Okay. So you didn't even look out the window?
No, I did not.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Hey, Richard.
Yes, Your Honor, just very briefly. Mr. Engstrom, do
Yeah.
you think 911 would be the most accurate to the exact time you called?
Yes.
And then, had you ever heard a sound that loud coming from the courtyard like that?
No, I have not.
And then, can you describe how loud was it?
Like it was right outside my window. Like someone took a 9mm and went bang right next to my window. Of course, I'm on the second floor at the time, so it wouldn't have been that plausible.
Okay,
But
so it sounded close.
really close, yes.
Those are all my questions. Thank you, Your Honor. And thank you, Mr. Engstrom.
No
Thank
problem.
you, sir. You're free to step down.
All righty.
Thank you.